To begin, I would like to ask you to forget something. It's a simple thing, but it is the wall this entire conversation must first scale. I ask you to forget, for a moment, that you know what anything is. Not in the grand, cosmic sense we'll gently approach that precipice in time, but in the most mundane, immediate sense, the object before you, be it a screen, a book, a cup, the weight of your own body in the chair, the name you answer to, the memory that just surfaced. I ask you to suspend the knowing of them, because this is not a conversation about acquiring new knowledge. It is an attempt to witness the machinery of knowing itself. And to do that, we must first create a quiet space between ourselves and the very world we have spent a lifetime naming into solidity. This will require time, not because the ideas are complex in a technical sense, but because the shift in perception we are circling is not a switch to be flipped. It is a path to be walked, slowly. Our minds are conditioned for summary, for conclusion, for the clean packaging of truth. What we are doing here is the opposite. We are unpacking a single, seemingly simple premise, that within us, truth does not stand like a stone monument. It bends, and what it bends into, the shape it takes to make itself known to us, is the realm of symbol. This is our territory, this inner realm where truth bends into symbols. If you are here for a concise answer, a 5-step framework, a burst of transient motivation, you will find only deepening silence. This is a long-form exploration. We are not extracting a mineral, we are tracing a root system, and for that, we need patience. The kind of patience one brings to watching the slow movement of shadow across a floor, or listening to a single, distant bell fade entirely into the air. This is the pace we must adopt. The journey itself is the understanding. So, let us start with the official story, the one we live inside. Often without question, the world is real, and we perceive it. Our senses are windows. Eyes are cameras, ears are microphones, nerves are data cables feeding information to the brain, which is a magnificent biocomputer. This computer processes the raw data, compares it to stored files of memory and learning, and renders for us a faithful model of reality. A tree is a tree, a face is a face, love is an emotion, a word is a label for a thing. In this story, truth is external, and our internal job is to map it with ever greater accuracy. We are cartographers of an existing landscape. Our symbols, words, images, concepts are the map. The better the map, the closer to truth we are. This is clean, logical, and profoundly comforting. It places truth out there, and us in here, with a clear, if difficult, task of translation. This story is not wrong. It is merely incomplete. It describes the later stages of a process, while ignoring the fundamental, alchemical first step. It assumes the separation of perceiver and perceived, of truth and symbol, as a starting point. But what if that separation is not the foundation, but the product? What if the bending begins, not when we choose a word, but the moment consciousness meets anything at all? This is our first pivot, the point where the simplified explanation ends, and the deeper terrain begins. If you feel a slight resistance, a clinging to the solidity of the official story, that is not only natural, it is essential. That clinging is the very material we must examine. Hold on to it, even as we step forward, for we must now slow down and look at what we so casually call perception. We assume we see a tree, but what arrives at the retina is not a tree. It is a dance of photons of specific wavelengths. The optic nerve does not transmit a picture. It sends electrochemical pulses, a pattern of chaotic, fragmented signals. The brain does not simply receive a tree and label it. It receives a storm of noise and must make a tree. And how does it do this? It cannot conjure form from nothing. It has to use what it already has. It uses memory. It uses expectation. It uses emotional valence. It uses, in essence, its entire library of past experiences. It takes the raw, meaningless signal and fits it into a recognizable pattern. That pattern is not the thing in itself. It is the brain's best guess, its most useful interpretation. It is, already, a symbol. The philosopher Immanuel Kant peered into this abyss of a word centuries ago. He distinguished between the noumenon, the thing. It exists independently of our perception, and the phenomenon, the thing. It appears to us. And he concluded, we can never know the noumenon. We are forever confined to the realm of the phenomenon. What we experience is not reality raw, but reality filtered, shaped, and structured by the very categories of our understanding: time, space, causality. We do not see the world. We see the world as our mind is able to see it. The truth of the tree in itself bends, irrevocably, into the symbol of the tree for just. This is the deeper mechanism. Perception is not a passive reception. It is an active, creative, and symbolic act. Every single moment of your waking life, and in the architecture of your dreams, you are not encountering bare reality. You are engaging in a continuous, unconscious act of poetry. You are translating the unspeakable into the speakable, the formless into form, the noumenal into the phenomenal. The inner realm is not a storage room for copies of the outer world. It is the studio where the outer world is composed, but this is merely the neurological and philosophical groundwork. The true escalation occurs when we realize this isn't just about trees and cups. It is about everything that constitutes a human life. If our perception of a physical object is a symbolic interpretation, then what of the objects of our inner world? What of pain? Is it merely a nerve signal, or is it the body's symbol for threat, for a violation, for a boundary crossed? What of grief? Is it merely a neurochemical shift, or is it the psyche's profound, symbolic ritual for loss, a lived poem of absence? And what of the self, this I we feel so centrally, so solidly? Is it a direct perception of a unified entity, or is it, as David Hume suggested when he looked inward and found only a bundle of perceptions, the mind's most cherished and necessary symbol? A symbol for the center of narrative, a locus of responsibility, a character in the story it is constantly writing. This symbolic bending is not an error. It is our nature. It is the only way we can interface with existence. The problem, the source of our deepest suffering and confusion, arises not from the act of symbolization, but from the forgetting that we are doing it. We take the symbol for the truth. We confuse the map with the territory. We fall in love with the menu and forget we are hungry. And from this fundamental confusion, consequences ripple outwards, shaping the very structure of our lives. We believe our thought of a person is the person, and so we weaponize symbols, trading in the solidified currency of grudges and fixed identities. We believe our concept of success or happiness is the truth of those states, and spend our lives chasing the symbol, wondering why its attainment feels hollow. We believe the borders on a map are literal truths, and rivers of blood are spilled for these imagined lines. We believe the name of God is God, and dogma becomes a prison for the very mystery it seeks to name. Politics, religion, economics, relationships, they all become theaters where solidified symbols clash, while the living, bending truth they attempt to point to recedes into the background. Unnoticed. Our institutions are not built on truth, but on agreed-upon symbols. Our suffering is rarely about the raw event, but about the meaning the symbol we attach to it. A failed project is not just a sequence of actions that did not yield an intended result. It becomes, in our inner realm, a symbol of personal inadequacy, or a symbol of a hostile universe. We live not in a world of facts, but in a world of meanings, and meaning is the offspring of symbol. This leads us to a quiet, heavy, irreversible realization, a mini-climax in our journey. There is no way out of the symbolic realm. There is no pristine and symbolized truth waiting for us if we could just think clearly enough, meditate deeply enough, or discover the right equation. The inner realm is the realm of symbol. To be conscious is to symbolize. The quest for absolute, objective, non-symbolic truth is a quest to become not human. It is the mind yearning to escape its own nature. This can feel like a closing door, like a life sentence to a world of shadows. But that feeling itself is just another symbolic interpretation, one of confinement. What if we saw it not as a prison, but as a palette, not as a veil, but as a language? You have stayed with me this far. You have sustained your attention through a dismantling of the solid world. That is a significant act of intellectual courage, and it brings us to the final pivot, the most personal turn in our journey. For now, we must bring this from the abstract we to the intimate you, not to tell you what to do, but to point to where the philosophy lives in the minutes of your day. The hidden personal impact is this: your entire emotional life, your sense of identity, your experience of meaning or its absence, is a constant negotiation with symbols. When you feel a sharp rise of anger in traffic, you are not experiencing the raw truth of another car's position. You are experiencing a powerful symbol of disrespect, of impediment, of your own powerlessness. The anger is real, but its source is not the car. Its source is the symbolic meaning you have instantaneously and unconsciously attached to the event. When you feel the ache of anxiety about the future, you are not in contact with the future. You are in the grip of a symbol, a mental movie of potential failure, loss, or shame. The anxiety is real, but it is fed by your belief in the reality of the symbol you are viewing. This is not to say it's all in your head in a dismissive way. It is to say, with great seriousness, that the power is in your head. The symbolic meaning-making machinery is the wellspring of both your deepest torment and your most profound liberation. It is the tool that paints nightmares on the walls of your skull, and it is the same tool that can compose symphonies, kindle compassion, and apprehend beauty. So practice the daily, moment-to-day philosophy becomes one of recognizing the symbol as symbol. It is the act of introducing a tiny, almost imperceptible gap between the events and your interpretation. It is the simple, endlessly difficult question: what am I making this mean? In that gap, choice enters. Not always a choice to feel differently instantly, but a choice to acknowledge the artist at work. You see the paint on the canvas. You see that the monster in the painting is made of the same pigment as the angel. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom. We are disturbed not by things, but by the views we take of them. It is the heart of Zen practice, pointing directly to the subtleness of experience before the label is applied. It is the aim of cognitive therapies, to make the unconscious symbol-making conscious, and therefore malleable. This is where truth, in its living sense, resides, not in a correct symbol, but in the awareness of the symbolic process itself. Truth is the silent space in which the bending occurs. It is the awareness that watches the feeling of grief arise and knows it as the mind's profound, necessary poem for love lost. It is the awareness that feels the flush of pride and knows it as a story the self is telling about itself. This awareness does not stop the symbols. It holds them more lightly. It sees them as movements within itself, not as definitions of reality. We close, then, not with a resolution, but with a return to where we began. Now seen from a higher turn of the spiral, we began by asking you to forget what you knew. Now, we end not by remembering it, but by re-knowing it as symbol. The cup is not just a cup. It is a nexus of sensations, memories of thirst, cultural ideas of utility and design, all held together by the simple, efficient symbol cup. Your name is not you. It is a sound, a symbol that gathers the breathtaking complexity of your history and potential into a manageable token for social interaction. The memory is not the past event. It is a story you tell now, a symbol reconstructed in the present, influencing who you are in this moment. This long journey was necessary, because this shift cannot be stated. It must be circumnavigated. You cannot be told to see symbols. You must be led, slowly, to the edge of your own perceptual process until you glimpse the bending in action. The duration was the medicine. The slowness was the catalyst. So, as we end, let there be no grand conclusion, no call to action. Let there only be a quiet invitation to carry this subtle lens with you into the next ordinary moment. When you next feel a strong emotion, pause. Don't change it. Don't judge it. Just ask, gently, what symbol is my mind creating right now? What truth is it bending this experience into? And then, in that pause, you may sense it not as a thought, but as a background of stillness, the inner realm itself, not the symbols that flow through it, but the space that holds them, the aware silence in which all this magnificent, tragic, beautiful bending unfolds. It was always there. It is what you are.